Okay, good morning, everyone. It's 5 o'clock in the morning on Sunday as I record this lecture in February of 2020. I am looking forward to the end of winter. Um, this week, we've got a little more dissertation support and just general academic writing um, support before we move back into coursework on globalization and information technology. So today I want to talk about reviewing literature. We touched on it. You've kind of started doing it with the draft when you pulled the research questions and problem and purpose statement um, out of a dissertation, and then previously when you were writing your annotated bibliography, you have to review literature to do that. But this week, I want to talk a little bit more about the systematic approach. Uh, you know what? No kidding. What are literature reviews? Because it's not just reading an article for an assignment. It's a big thing. So we'll move on. It's very important. So here's our overview. We'll talk about exactly what is a literature review, and I've got three sample literature reviews um, that are standalone on a given topic, which you will find frequently out there. They're very useful. Um, and then we've got an assignment this week. We're gonna do a small, short draft so you can practice writing about literature, which is a unique skill. And then we will finish. I don't expect this lecture to take very long. Okay, so I just Googled definition of a literature review, and you'll probably see this as one of your top returns as well. It's a comprehensive summary um, of previous research on a topic. That I bolded previous research um, because I want I want you to I want you to understand that the literature is the documentation and publication of research. Now, you will see articles out there that are really just either a literature review of other articles for a specific purpose, but you will also see articles that are really kind of just what that professor thinks about a topic, or um, it's it they're almost opinion pieces or informational pieces. But uh, most journal articles, really, they want to publish. Most good journals are more interested in publishing original research. Um, so yeah, that's I want you to think of journal articles as um, the good ones, the ones you're really, really looking for, are the source, the root source of a study that where data was collected and it expanded the body of knowledge. And everything else is just kind of talking about that. But those original studies are key. Uh, so the literature review surveys scholarly articles. So you're always using peer-reviewed journals, and there are several rating systems for journals. You can look them up yourself. Management Information Systems Quarterly, MIS Quarterly, tends to come way up at the top of the list frequently. Um, so, yeah, sources, books relevant to a particular area of research. So, um, you'll need to focus. You authors need to focus a literature review for a specific particular um, topic. There's it's very wide. If you just say cloud computing, you can't do a literature review on cloud. Studying cloud computing. You could. It would be a book. It would be a book. It wouldn't be a literature review. It would be too long. So very often, as you'll see in the three that I posted, it's a subtopic of something. I'll get to those articles here in a minute. So that's what a literature review is by the textbook definition. But um, I want you to realize they're really useful. If instead of reading from the bottom up, so to speak, going through and reading all these studies that have been posted, um, and then sort of putting it all together in your head by reading 100 original studies, you can kind of get a good summary. As it says in the second line on this slide, it's a comprehensive summary. You can get a summary of the research that's done. It's not an annotated bibliography, because usually they're using that literature to tell a story, and if multiple studies, you'll see in these examples, if multiple studies came to the same basic conclusion, you'll see, two or three or four or five studies being cited, all to substantiate one statement, because their findings are very similar, and they overlap, and that's okay. Yeah, it's to be expected. So if you find a literature review, like I just went into Google Scholar and said, cloud computing literature review, or Internet of Things literature review, and they pop up. They're easy to find, and they're very, very, very useful ways to get, uh, you know, uh, uh, other references. You can look at the literature they reviewed and then go in and review it yourself, and you can pull little details out that'll help you tell your own story in your dissertation as you justify your research, um, and your findings and all that, by linking it back to what other people have written. A literature review is also the second chapter of your dissertation, so that's a very personal reason why you'll need to be able to do this. Um, it's also writing about what another author said, which is eludes some students. They want to spin or just rephrase it. But that's not what you're doing. You're convincing your reader, your dissertation committee, and eventually somebody that reads your dissertation. You're convincing them that you've mastered the literature, and you can point to places in the literature that support your premise. Um, just like you would hold a conversation with someone, and you'd say, if you're into, professional football, you'd say, well, Tom Brady did this, or Lamar Jackson did that, and their statistics, and then you'd be proving some point about either their mobility. Tom Brady stays in the pocket and Lamar Jackson runs like a gazelle. you you would be proving some point to the person that is listening to you, for lack of a better word, your reader. So that's the important thing, is to be able to review the literature and then write about it. Um, and then the final bullet on this slide, is something we haven't specifically mentioned, but you'll see in every dissertation. And I mentioned this every lecture. This is the seventh time um, we've taught. You need to be collecting articles and dissertations. I I I remember saying, go to the database and pull up a dissertation. Most of you did that this past week, not all of you. Um, you need to be pulling up every dissertation that's been written on your topic, and adding them to your bibliographic software, which I also asked everyone to email me and let me know what you were using. And I didn't get a single email. So that makes me feel neglected. But anyway, you need to be collecting these dissertations. They'll help you focus, they'll help you find the literature gap. Now, that is um, not difficult to do. Um all the literature gap is a just a basic consensus or recommendations from other authors that we need more research in this area. And you get two or three authors that say that, um, and uh, there you go. You've got an identified gap based upon previous researchers' recommendations. Bam. Um, you can also find a gap. You can describe the gap in the research that you are going to fill by uh, addressing the limitations of a study. Somebody might have collected a study and said, this was worthwhile. However, one of the limitations of the study was that I didn't have enough people in leadership positions taking the survey, or it was only conducted in one country. Maybe it was conducted in Canada, and the limitation would be that the results could only be possibly valid in Canada. Maybe you want to, repeat a study in the U.S. Or in India, or who knows, China, wherever you. A lot of you are working for companies that have distributed teams. So you might be able to collect data. You might be able to collect data where you work. You got to be careful though. Um, your program faculty will get into where you collect your data more. But so yeah, you're looking for a gap in the literature that you can justify using the literature. It's not it's not hard at all. It's not rocket science. It's not even computer science. It's just basic academic writing. And you'll see this all in the literature. Um, when you are spending your 15 to 20 hours a week that it takes to do well in this program. And if you read an article and you want me to look at something, or you don't quite understand something that you're reading, or you need help, please send me an email. Don't get a lot of questions. I get the occasional, hey, can I redo that assignment? But I don't get questions in time to help you very often. But I check my email every day. So that's what a literature review is. So I have provided in a folder um, several. Now, back in week one, in Walker Writing Samples folder, you can read my chapter two. Your chapter two will be equally lengthy, probably longer, and you have to be methodical. You can't talk in circles and make the same point over and over again. You have to be very smooth and use solid paragraph structure and topic sentences. Read my chapter two, you'll see. And the section headings, the paragraphs are all tight. And then they move on to another topic. You'll see sentences that transition the thought from one topic to the next topic. Um, but then I went out, like I said, to Google Scholar, and I found three literature reviews that you can use. They'll all list like, we found 73 articles by searching these keywords in these databases. That's how they described their data collection. Their data collection was journal articles. Their data is journal articles. And then they analyze that data. Now, it's a qualitative analysis uh, for the most part, but sometimes they'll use real data. They'll say that, we found 73 articles and 27% of them collected uh, quantitative data, 62% collected qualitative data, and they will quantify the data in those articles that they're reviewing. You'll see. Read all three of them. They're not. Uh, I mean, you can scan these things and get the gist of it very quickly. But then I provided also in that same folder a framework that was used by one of the literature reviews um, to have an established methodology, a method for reviewing the literature. So you'll need to scan that also, and there's a lot of methodology literature out there. In addition to your subject areas, um, there are journal articles out there that recommend research methods for your subject area, and you have a methodology section, chapter 3. We'll discuss your methodology, how you're collecting your data and why you're using the method you're using and why it's valid and everything. Before you even collect data, you'll have to do it as a research proposal that we've talked about before, where you basically write the first 3 chapters of your dissertation in the future tense as a proposed project. There's lots more on the internet about that. Let's see. Oh, I left a bullet there. I left a conclusion. That bullet is a cut and paste error from duplicating slides. So check out those 3 literature reviews. They're good samples. I went into some of your background, and I chose these because I remembered particular students choosing these research areas. Uh, and the middle bullet here, offshoring services, I thought that was particularly pertinent to anybody in IT because cloud computing, software as a service, software development, so many things, um, digital, desktop publishing, everything that's digital in nature can be offshored. So I had that one in there too, and that's pertinent to our class. Offshoring is information systems in a global environment are enabling offshoring and getting work done anywhere. Like I said, I've got a colleague that owns a software development company that he travels frequently to Warsaw, Poland, and Guadalajara, Mexico, because that's where the expertise is. So anyway, yeah, there's your sample literature reviews and Kitchenbaum's framework. Make sure you read Kitchenbaum, and I thought it was very interesting. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, so here is your assignment. Don't read too much into it. This is going to take hours of work, but uh, this isn't a week's worth of work full time or anything. You can get this done. You can do it. Um, Read Kitchenbaum in the folder there. Remember, it's not a literature review. It's a how-to manual, how to conduct a literature review methodically, um, looking for certain factors. So you're don't write about Kitchenbaum. I don't I don't want to see any elements of the Kitchenbaum article really in your paper this week. But you will write a short paper that is kind of sort of the first attempt at a chapter two. Again, look at my chapter two. You you kind of restate the research question and your topic area, and then you launch into a review of the literature. Um, Now, in your full chapter two, you'll have to have some sort of framework as to how you're moving through the literature. You don't just blah write 20 pages. This is the literature on my topic. Blah, 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 blah. You don't do that. You've got to organize it into a coherent. You'll see, as I did. I broke my topic area down into subjects, and then I addressed the literature um, as it pertained to my population, and why my population was valid. So it's a creative process. Your literature review, no two authors would approach their literature review the same way. But as long as it adds value and rigor to your study, then you're good to go. So you're going to write a couple of pages that look kind of like a chapter two, or maybe the literature review section of a journal article, um, where they go into the background. You'll see in a journal article, it's often maybe like a page, single space. You're going to turn in double space, so 2 pages, 2 to 3 pages. That goes into the literature that the previous. Try and find 3 to 5 articles, and go find the original research articles that collected data. Try and make them recent. Um, the last 3 years is a good benchmark that most universities go by. Um, and try to identify the literature gap. I want that to kind of be the theme of your paper. I put it in bold down here. So you're going to describe your topic, briefly, so I understand what it is that you're reviewing literature on, and then review as many articles as you can find, but focus on their recommendations for future research or limitations in their study that you might use. Um, and I've said this before. I'll say it again. I'll keep saying it. This is real. Okay, it's classwork that you need to be using towards your dissertation for real, for graduation, for your diploma that says doctor on it. I'm getting submissions, far too many, both initial discussions, papers, replies to your fellow students that are just checking the block. If you're not familiar with that colloquialism, look it up. Checking the block. Not adding value to anything, no depth of analysis, not on topic. And I know what you're doing when I see it. You're hoping for a good grade, but you're not trying for a good grade. It's the difference between, like when you flip a coin, you hope for heads. You're not trying for heads. You're hoping for it. And some of you, the work you're turning in is kind of like flipping a coin. You're hoping for the right outcome. You're not trying for it. Um, this course takes time. So if you're not putting in, I don't know, 20 hours a week, it's going to reflect in your classwork, and it'll reflect in your grade, and it'll reflect in the obvious questions I ask you, and then the emails I send you. I check my email every day. Um, Sometimes I email you guys and I don't hear anything for 3 or 4 days. Um, so I can't help you. I can't help you if you won't communicate with me. So there's your assignment this week. This is easy. This is easy if you just take the time and do it. Uh, and be serious and for real about it. If you uh, still need help narrowing a topic, I helped one of you at length. I posted that as an announcement. That's the kind of help I give serious students. Um, I hope it's being, the help I gave is being taken seriously. So let me know. So that's the assignment this week. Uh, that's the topic. It's absolutely foundational, basic doctoral level material. If you don't understand reviewing literature and what a literature gap is as a PhD, um, something failed in the system. You'll get laughed out of the break room by your fellow PhDs because this is elementary. Um, so take it seriously. I look forward to some good papers with good paragraph structure, all the basics, the basic elements, APA formatting, citations in APA format. This is the big leagues, guys. So I'm looking for doctoral level work. Okay, so there we go. In conclusion, you must learn to incorporate other academic journal articles into your own writing as easily as you would use them in conversation. Kind of like I was talking about, Tom Brady versus Lamar Jackson. You have to master the literature so that you can, if somebody says, "Oh, well, Smith thought this," you could say, "Yeah, well, but Jones proved that wrong." They conflict, which I find interesting. Dut, 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 dut. You need to master the literature, and you need to be able to write about it in your own words without using an article spinner. Had to turn in a couple of episodes this week, which was disappointing, to the university for their attention. So it's still going on, uh, even despite my repeated warnings. You've got to be um, fluent in the literature in your specific topic area. And that's why I encourage you to focus because you can't be fluent in the literature in cloud computing. There are 10,000 studies that have been published on cloud computing. You have to narrow down the focus, and really your mastery of this literature will probably wind up focusing on about 10 articles that you're going to see over and over and over and over again, and you're going to wind up basically memorizing because they're the ones that you're really adding to what those folks did in a specific topic area. That's the way it was for me, and you'll see in my dissertation a Dr. Paul Leonardi. I emailed him back and forth a couple of times. His studies informed my approach greatly, and he's fairly prolific in author in the enterprise social media world. So you'll start to see authors, and then you'll be like you'll follow them almost like you follow a tennis player's career from their dissertation to their first articles, and they'll often be co-authors because they're new, and then they're writing on their own. It's uh, rewarding looking at an author's career blossom in front of you by reading their stuff. just like you would, Stephen King or Patterson or Hemingway or anybody else. So there you go, guys. Reviewing literature. What is literature? Finding a literature gap. These are the topics of the week because they are critical to your dissertation. So, as always, there's my email. If you have any questions, if I've confused you, um, I've gotten a couple of questions like I can see, sent from my iPhone. Please don't. I write your questions in an email client on a computer, and be very thorough when you're asking me your question. Don't assume anything that I know what you're talking about by just writing a one sentence question. It'll only confuse me and it'll prolong getting your answer. Um, but please, um, if you should have access to your email at work. Um, you should. Um, Not everybody can, but it shouldn't be difficult to keep in touch with me. Some of you I've emailed weeks ago, never got a response, and that's that. We're all familiar with the concept of karma. So if you expect your faculty members to help you, be courteous and reply to their questions to you as well, both in class discussion and and in email. And those will often be challenging. Your fellow professionals will challenge your findings. That's the way the scientific community works. You don't just say, "Oh, very good," when somebody publishes something without reading it. You got to challenge people. You got to dig into what they're saying and be good. You got to look for excellence. Um, let's see more of that. So anyway, contact me if you have any questions or concerns, and I will see you online.